Braille, print for the blind. Braille is the only system through which children with profound or total loss of sight can learn to read and write.
I think Braille would help the blind and or visually impaired to have better spelling and grammar, as well as increasing their vocabulary, as reading literature is one of the ways in which you do all of those things.
There is a significant relationship between Braille literacy and academic success, higher income, and employment.
I learned Braille when I was younger in school, but then it was never, I was never able to read it. I was never given material to read, so I forgot everything. So then I just kind of fell back, and after I stopped learning, I actually was a grade ahead in math and reading, but now I'm a grade behind, which sucks. And it made me more bilingual, I guess, and independent because I was able to do things on my own without other people's help.
Only 10% of blind and visually impaired children learn Braille, yet a 10% literacy rate would never be acceptable for sighted children.
I was never taught Braille, and the only thing I knew about it was bumps on usually paper or walls, like in Walmart. And the result of that is I cannot spell, and people look at me funny when I try to read something.
While audio devices are useful sources of information for blind people, only Braille offers complete command of the written language.
And I always had like the giant large print books, and
I hated those things.
yeah. And like even now, like for example, I'm a lector for church now, and I have to get, because I never really enjoyed reading all that much, partly because I never learned Braille, I guess, until I was in high school. And so now I have these humongous volumes of a lectionary, which in normal print is like 4 volumes. So, and if I was proficient enough in Braille, I would still probably have to have a freak ton of volumes, but I'd probably have fewer of them. So.
Most blind children, approximately 85%, attend public schools where few teachers know Braille.
So, like a lot of people here, I didn't really learn Braille until maybe 3 years ago. As a kid, my accommodations were to get close to the board. I still couldn't see what was on the board. Or, listen to what the teacher's saying, because that helps you take notes better. And they're writing a million miles a minute on the blackboard and not saying what it is that they're writing. And had I had Braille, really, statistics would have been much easier in college. Reading probably would have been a lot easier, just throughout my life in general, because I love to read. And there was a period then where I lost a lot of eyesight, and I didn't really read for about 7 years, almost even closer to 10, until I actually learned Braille. So Braille is literacy. That's really what it's about. And yeah.
The number of legally blind children in the United States has increased due to several factors, including advances in medical care for premature infants.
Well, yeah. I learned Braille last year at the end of the year. Life really sucked without Braille because, I could read, but I couldn't read fast. It took me like a long time to finish a book. So it still does because I'm still learning it, but it takes me a little faster. So yeah.
There are 3 primary reasons for this educational crisis.
I did not get to learn Braille until I started with the Commission for the Blind.
And how has that?
It's helped me a lot.
Number 1. There are not enough Braille teachers.
I didn't start Braille until I was in 8th grade, and it's getting easier now because teachers and the commission are helping me in Braille.
Number 2. Some teachers of blind children have not received enough training.
I've learned how to write better and how to read punctuations and how to write them correctly and how to write correct sentences. And spelling has also been my #1 subject for a long time. So I learned how to write better and spell better because of Braille.
Number 3. Many educators do not think Braille instruction is even necessary.
I didn't learn Braille until I was older, at a commission for the blind, and I'm a slower reader because of it, and I was always a smart kid, but I could have done so much better. And most students are a couple grade levels behind in reading who are visually impaired, and Braille would change that. So teachers need to start teaching visually impaired kids Braille.
Some final thoughts.
Blind kids are learning Braille, and it's really unfortunate because for sighted kids, they're all expected to learn how to read and write, and they're all taught how to read and write in preschool and first grade, but blind kids aren't. We're expected to be below grade level, getting really bad in spelling, and not really succeeding. It's just seen as like, well, they're blind, so it's okay. And really, teachers of the visually impaired don't really know how to deal with blind kids, and they don't know Braille themselves, so they don't teach it, and they don't do a good job of it because they don't know it well themselves, and that would never be acceptable for a normal kid. You wouldn't hire a preschool or kindergarten teacher who didn't know how to read and write. It just wouldn't happen. Or if they only knew the alphabet, they would never be hired, but that's what happens with TBIs. They may only know the alphabet or know some contractions, and they're still, well, obviously not teaching Braille, so we're just held to lower expectations. And so most kids grow up and don't become employed. 75% of blind, and when I say blind I mean and visually impaired, are unemployed, and the ones that are employed are the ones that know Braille. So it's mostly the low vision kids who are not employed, and it's really unfortunate.
Braille, print for the blind. Starring Becca Stevens, Anna Matvieva, Stephanie Eggers, Megan Likas, Janine Harvey, Crimson Kraus, Jacob Burt, Brent Hyen, Conchita Hernandez, and Alex Castillo. Filmed and edited by Brent Hyen.
Braille's awesome.